Mike is an Arlesdale engine who works on the small railway. He loves this railway, but sometimes he wishes he could be somewhere else. He was pulling a passenger train one day when all of a sudden he heard a whirring above him. "Not that whirly-bird thing," he said. Sure enough, it was Harold the helicopter. "G'day, Mike," said Harold. I'm flying high, and I sure would hate to be you, only being able to go where your rails do." Mike was furious. "I'll prove to you that rails are better than air," said Mike, "by racing you to the station. I'll win." "Oh, no you don't," said Harold. "I'll win, 'cause ready, set, go," and Harold took off. Mike zoomed after him. "Eat my dust, helicopter," said Mike. "Go as fast as you can now, Mike," said Harold. "Can't have you finishing quite too far behind me." At the hill, Harold easily took the lead. But Mike wasn't worried. He knew it would take a long time for Harold to find a place to land. In the meantime, he struggled up the hill. At last, he reached the top and began to coast down the other side. Then all of a sudden, "Oh no! Look at that!" And he wished he hadn't. For there ahead was Frank pulling out of the station with a freight train. "Help! Stop, driver!" said Mike. But he couldn't. It was too late. A few seconds later, Harold landed in a place that would soon become very inconvenient. Like that. "Ow!" said Harold. "Ow!" said Mike. "Ow!" said a coach. "Ow!" said a freight car. "Ow! That must have hurt," said the controller who had just walked up. "Mike, why were you going so fast?" Mike didn't answer. Well, the works are full because Rex is there getting a new boiler. So I'm afraid we'll have to find some other way to get you to the works." "I have an idea. Perhaps we can send you to the works on the Fat Controller's Railway." Mike was excited. He hadn't been on the Fat Controller's Railway at all, except when he had been transferred to the small railway by Duck, and Duck was one of the 4 engines he knew on the Fat Controller's Railway, besides Oliver, Donald, and Douglas. Soon, the workmen began to clear the mess up. When it was finally cleared up, Mike hoped that the engine picking him up to take him to the works would be one he didn't know, so he could meet another engine. Sure enough, it was. "Hello, you must be Mike," said the engine. "My name is Stanley." "I am Mike," said Mike. "I'm pleased to meet you, Stanley." "I'm pleased to meet you too," said Stanley. Soon, Mike was loaded onto Stanley's flat car. And then Stanley pulled Mike away. They passed the siding where Arthur was sitting. "That's Arthur," said Stanley. "He's probably taking those empty coal trucks to the mines." There are no coal mines on our railway," said Mike. "Only ballast mines." "Well, they aren't really mines anyways. They're just piles of ballast." They went over a hill. It wasn't as big and exhilarating as the hill on Mike's railway, but Mike still liked hills. They passed the road where George's steamroller was rolling along very slowly. Terence was plowing in a field where some cows were grazing. Munch, munch. And for a short distance, while the road followed the rails, Mike was able to talk to Alfie while they rolled along. At last, they reached the works. Well, here they are. Here's the works, Mike, where you're going to be repaired, said Stanley. It's called the Sodor Steamworks. I hope you like it. Who wouldn't? The Sodor Steamworks was large and very busy. Stanley and Mike chuffed into the steamworks. Are there other engines here? Said Stanley. I mean Mike. Yes, indeed, said Stanley. While workmen looked over Mike and repaired him. Look to your right. Sure enough, there was another engine. It was Salty. Mike could see that Salty, who he could recognize from his nameplate, he was getting his wheels tested on a small treadmill. It rocked him, and it made a weird noise, kind of a shaky noise and a grinding noise too. Are there any other engines? Asked Mike. Oh, lots, said Stanley. Here comes one now. And sure enough, around the bend came Gordon the big express engine. Boop, boop. Hello, Stanley. Hello, whatever your name is, said Gordon, and chuffed away. That's Gordon, said Stanley. Sometimes he's a bit rude, but he means well. He's very fast, the fastest engine on Sodor. That's why he's the only one who can pull the express. I see, said Mike. Just then, another engine puffed up. Hello, Stanley, said the engine. Where's Victor? Oh, Victor's helping out at the dock since Stanley is, since Salty is out of commission. Oh, I see, said the engine. Oh, who are you? I'm Mike, said Mike. Who are you? I'm Toby. I'm a steam tram. I'm an Arlesdale engine, said Mike. A small railway engine, or whatever you want to call it. I see, said Toby. By the way, Stanley, do you know where Kevin is? Oh, he's probably around here somewhere. Yeah, that sounds like him. He's around here somewhere. Well, I'm just here to pick up some cargo, said Toby. Coupling up to his freight car, he then backed away, ringing his bell. Ding, ding, ding. Toby is the only steam tram on the railway, says Stanley. I've never met a steam tram before, said Mike. Neither had I until I met Toby, said Stanley. Just then the workman spoke up. You're good to go, Mike. All right, Mike, said Stanley. I'm bringing you home. And then he did. They chuffed around bends and corners and curves and any kind of curvy thing you want. Back down the line to the Arlesdale Railway. Past George, who was still rolling very slowly. Past Terence, who was still plowing in a field. They didn't see Alfie this time, but they were able to go over the same hill again. And past Arthur, who was still waiting on a siding for some reason. Well, here you go, Mike, said Stanley. Yes, here I go, said Mike. And I'm good to go, according to that workman. And soon, Mike was unloaded, and Stanley puffed away. Bye, Mike, he said. Hope to see you soon. Me too, said Mike. And then he began telling the other engines, Frank, Bert, and Jock, all about his visit to the steamworks. That night, all was quiet on the railway. All the engines were asleep. All of them, except one, Mike, the star of our story. Or not star, maybe. He was thinking about how he could get back onto the Fat Controller's railway, since he liked it so much. He considered having another accident on purpose, just so he could go to the steamworks and possibly see different engines. But he decided against it when he came up with a better idea. The better idea involved the ballast loader. Whenever an engine came from the Fat Controller's railway to collect ballast from the small railway, the trucks were shunted onto the loader and dumped into the Fat Controller's cars. Mike had an idea involving the hopper. Well, sort of. He thought to himself, if I use the ballast loader as a jump and land on the rails, I'll be able to go back around the railway. It's not my gauge, but I can just use my wheels like car wheels and drive around the railway. My wheels might not be meant for that, but it's worth a try anyways. So that's what he did, or tried to do. He turned on the turntable and chucked back to the switch that led into the hopper. All right then. 3, 2, 1, and he zipped forward off the hopper and landed crashing on the tracks below. The noise awakened more engines. Hey, what was that? Mike, what are you doing there? Asked Frank. He got on the turntable and went to the top of the ballast hopper to get a better look. Jock, too, heard the noise. Bert was a deep sleeper, so he didn't. Jock got on the turntable and turned around onto the siding where Frank had been to get a look at Mike. What? Asked Jock. Mike, are you okay? And more importantly, how did you get yourself in such an awful fix? Yeah, said Frank, who had just oiled onto the top of the ballast hopper. Mike knew he had to tell Jock and Frank the whole story, so he did. Well, if you wanted to get back to the steamworks, said Jock, one thing's for sure, that you'll be there really soon, so long as Rex doesn't come back, said Frank. Everybody laughed, even Mike, who had now learned his lesson.